Now let's talk about the sequence of flight training that you'll need to go through. First of all, medicals. Before you start, I would strongly advise that you make sure that you're going to be fit enough to meet the medical requirements for the license. You are permitted to fly dual, so your early part of your training can be completely without a medical certificate. That's fine, but you won't be able to go solo until you've got it in place. The roadmap to the license, I've put into two phases. Phase 1 is pre-solo and phase 2 is post-solo. Phase 1, the very first thing we start to do is teach you how to handle the aircraft itself. So how do the controls work? What do they do? How sensitive are they? And so on. And the controls include ailerons, elevator, rudder, air brakes, the trim, and possibly flaps if your glider is equipped with them. And this part is what I call skills, handling skills, and you'll find that you'll be spending most of your time concentrating on that, and you may from time to time actually forget where you are, which is fine. That's the instructor's task at this phase in your flying, is to keep you safe. So he will direct you while you practice the various handling skills that you need. When you are handling all of the controls through every phase of the flight, I would then call you the handling pilot, and you're probably a good 1/3 of the way to solo when you get to that point. The next phase of the training takes you through judgment training or assessment training, how to assess that you're in the right place, that the approach to land is correct, you're not undershooting or overshooting, and that sort of thing, and your circuit and so on is reasonable, and if things are changing, that you know how to spot those. And when you can take off, rejoin a circuit, fly a circuit, come in and land again without the instructor intervening, so without him giving you any prompts, then I would classify you as the unprompted pilot. And at that point, now you're probably 2/3 of the way to solo, or about that. Finally, before solo, we look at more advanced handling, things like stalling and spinning, launch failures, and so forth, and how to deal with awkward situations when they present themselves to you. And when you have completed that training, you're now in a position to go solo. And solo is probably 1/3 of the way to your final goal with a license. Once you're solo, the very first thing that we get you to do is build confidence. So we want you to practice on your own and with an instructor at times, but a lot of the solo flying is about building some experience and getting some confidence. As that is going along, we start introducing training. You have to be formally trained in one of the soaring techniques, depends on the site now, but either wave flying, ridge flying, or thermal flying. And you will have, by that stage, have sufficient handling skills to be able to cope with the demands of soaring and so forth. Next, we're continuing to train you to get you up to the skills test standard. So the general flying test has quite clear requirements in terms of what you can and can't do at a reasonable level of competence. So a little like a driving test. Initially, you can drive the car, sure, but you may not be able to drive it quite well enough to pass the test. So this is our next major step. We then move on to the more theoretical side of things, where we ask you to study for the exam, and the examination falls into about 9 subject areas, which is a multi-choice exam, and you'll need to study for that, and you'll get, again, support from your instructors and guidance from them as well. Now, a point to make about the exams, particularly at times like the lockdowns we're currently suffering, there's nothing at all to stop you studying for the exam from day one. You know, there's no rule that says you can't sit the exam before you go solo, for instance. Once you've completed that training, so you've got the theoretical training out of the way, we have further training to do, and now this is directed primarily at navigation, and navigating, of course, in a glider is more of a challenge than navigating in a light aircraft, because you have 2 tasks. You need to navigate and you need to keep the glider airborne while you're doing it. So we'll teach you how to do that, and then you will be in a condition to take and hopefully pass the navigational test. When you've passed the navigation test, it's time to send off the paperwork and claim your license. Well done. Well, this will be for you then the end of a interesting journey and the beginning of a new one. So having gained your pilot's license, you'll now be able to go to anywhere you like in the world and fly and enjoy some of the absolute fantastic things we can do in gliding. Thank you for watching, and I'll meet you next time.